So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Q&A. I hope you guys don't mind the very raunchy artwork that's in this place. I love this place. It's kind of like industrial chic, basically my perfect sort of style. Like the fireplace, the beautiful stair, like just in general, I'm so picky when it comes to anything aesthetic. When it comes to clothing, when it comes to interior, I'm very picky with that sort of stuff. Just in general, like I have a very specific eye for things. So yeah, I freaking love this place in terms of its interior, but that I don't understand too much. I think it still works though. Anyways, as always, if you want to get your question answered, two things. First of all, subscribe and turn on post notifications. And the reason that's important is because somewhere randomly within the week, I will be posting a Q&A and I only choose questions within the first 1 to 2 hours because I film them directly after, basically. So yeah, I have 7 questions for you guys today, and I decided to choose ones that were more business SMMA heavy to give you guys as much value as you can possibly get. So question number 1, if you were in a country in lockdown in this period, would you try to research and focus a local business niche and be ready to start selling to them after the lockdown is over? If so, would you start testing outreach during the crisis or not? Or would you shift towards a more digital business like e-commerce or info product? If you go on the second path, how would you try to learn the service delivery part? This is a great question. I think it's something that a lot of people out there are thinking. My answer comes down to, if you already have some clients within any sort of local industry, if you're working with realtors, if you're working with gyms, restaurants, etc., etc. If you have clients in that niche, in my opinion, it's much better just to continue to double down. Personally, I wouldn't be scrapping that industry because by the time that you transition over to this new niche, which might be 2, 3, 4 weeks, at least to get properly settled in, you might only have another month or 6 weeks or 8 weeks after that until you can go back to your old niche. So look, if you've already built up a substantial base or you have worked with clients within an industry that right now is having a pause or maybe having a pivot, in my opinion, you should stay with that industry and you should load up on tasks that you're gonna have to do either way later down the line. So this is an ample opportunity for you to be building out your onboarding, maybe give your website a little bit more love, maybe spend a little bit more time looking for a media buyer to actually deliver the services for you, even if you may not need one as it currently stands. This might be a great time for you to do an excessive amount of lead source. So that way, when it comes time to sign clients, you've got as much there as possible. So if I were you, what I would do, as I said, if you already have a base and you already have maybe 2 clients that you've worked with in the past, or you already have some clients that you're working with right now, is stay in that niche. Yeah, because by the time that everything goes back to normal, then it wouldn't have been worth it. Other question is, should you still be doing outreach even with businesses that may be, as I said, having to close up shop for a little bit or having to pivot? Yes. The reason you should still be doing it is because by the time that businesses reopen, you will be the forefront of their mind. So don't expect to be one call closing them. Outreach, get on a call and genuinely provide them value, and have a check-in call every 3 weeks. And once again, this is with zero intent of selling at that current point. The reason I say that is because let's say things open up geographically where you are 3 weeks from now. Okay, awesome. Then, as I said, you've been talking to them and you've been providing them value and you're the forefront of their mind. If things open up 3 months from now, then by that time, you've had 4 calls with them and you are their go-to, hands down 100%, because you've been the one providing value and holding their hand during this time of need. So hopefully that answers the question. Now, for any of you guys who are literally just starting off and you don't have any substantial base built within any given niche, then I'd go for e-commerce and info product clients from the get-go. That's because you're starting from scratch. You might as well just get going ASAP. And in terms of actually delivering or learning the service delivery, all the fundamentals, all the basics still apply. So still learn all the basic of Facebook ads. What's the difference between a standard event and a custom conversion? How do you go about ad account structure from a campaign level to an ad set level to an ad level? What's the difference between them? How do you actually go about copywriting? Most of those fundamentals are the same. The main thing that changes when you're working with e-commerce and info product clients is mainly that ad set level, because you're working usually with higher budgets and you're not as handcuffed by, actual geography. So obviously that means that for the most part, you can run ads nationally or sometimes even globally. So that's one thing that changes. The other thing that changes, obviously, from a funnel perspective, if you're running ads for info product clients, you're gonna need to learn the funnel aspect of things. My recommendation for most people is start off with e-commerce. It's a hell of a lot easier than working with info product clients, trust me. Now, the last thing that I want to say about this is there are so many exceptions and nuances, and that's the tough thing. I can't believe I just said ting. And that's the tough thing just about giving answers in general, is like, there's no simple answer to anything in life, honestly. And there's so many caveats and there's so many exceptions and whatnot, but as a blanket statement, that's the best advice that I could offer you right now. Next question is, how do you learn about tax situations for your business? I would say 80% of it was own self-education, going out there, learning about tax in general, and then also learning about tax specifically relating to me in the UK. The other 20% was just speaking to my accountant. The main issue that I see out there is so many people just want their accountant to like take care of it all. Like, no. Take self-responsibility and go learn your tax laws. Then, you know, consult your accountant about what tax laws are correct or what actually applies to you. But like, you need to understand that for the most part in life, tax will be your biggest expense by far. So obviously you want to do as much as you can to lower that tax by being tax efficient, by being streamlined, by learning the rules inside and out. If you want a really good book just to get you kickstarted on this, there's a book called Accounting Made Easy, like in 100 pages or less. Yeah, I think it's called Accounting Made Simple in 100 pages or less, something like that. If you look up most of those keywords, then you'll find the book. So next question is, how can you scale to 7 figures working with local businesses? This is a great question. I want you to go ahead and type in GrowYourAgency.com/watch-now. That is the case study for Copy Paste Agency, which is my higher level program where I work with agency owners who, I mean, offer some of them in there are making $3,000-4,000 a month, but they want to get to 20, 30, 40, 50, 100K a month in record breaking time. But we also have 3 or 4 people in there who are already making 100K a month with their agency, and quite a few people who are making 40, 50, 60, etc., etc. But anyways, my point is, in that case study, I actually give you at the end a free module from Copy Paste Agency, and I give you something known as the cluster calculator, and that will explain what I'm about to put on screen. Like, it'll actually give you context for it. But if you want to scale your local business to 7 figures in terms of revenue, and let's say your average retainer is $2,500, I'm going to go ahead and pop the numbers up here. So the calculator automatically calculates everything and it'll show you what you need to know. But roughly you'll need to be working with around 33 clients a month in order to making 83,000 a month in revenue, and then obviously 83,000 times 12 comes out to roughly around $1 million a year in rev. Now, if you're wanting to make $1 million a year profit from your agency, I just did rough calculations on my phone, but luckily I don't need to worry about this because I have my cluster calculator, which tells me everything. So as I said, I'm gonna pop it up on screen for the exact numbers, but let's say you've got 3 media buyers who are managing these 35-ish clients, so managing around 12 clients each, and you're paying them $3,000 each. So that means $9,000 a month you're spending on your team, so $3,000 each. Then you need to be working with around 37 clients a month to be making 7 figures a year of profit. So as I said, I'm gonna pop both those up on the screen, but just go to GrowYourAgency.com/watch-now. Opt in the case study, and that'll show you specifically how to scale your agency to 7 figures. Whether you're working with real estate agents, info product clients, gyms, restaurants, it doesn't matter. The principles apply. Next question is, why does Esteban not work solely for his own agency? Surely it would be more profitable for him to close sales on his own business and not just make commission from yours. Now, Esteban hasn't been doing sales for me for 2 years at this point. Yeah, 2 years at this point. So he was my appointment setter for like 7 months back at the last quarter of 2017 going into the first quarter of 2018. So he used to set my appointments for me and then I would physically show up. But he doesn't do any sales for my agency or my education company. He's just the coach within Agency Incubator. There's myself, there's Kieran, and there's Esteban. All of our presence is felt. We've got 4 live Q&A calls a month. So every single week for 2 hours. Twice a month is Kieran and I on there, and twice a month it's just Kieran. And yeah, we're on Zoom and we unmute people and they can speak to me one-on-one because as I said, we're literally unmuted. And yeah, that's how that works. And Esteban is in there every single day answering questions. So he spends around 2 to 3 hours a day in Agency Incubator answering questions, apart from obviously myself and Kieran. But yeah, he actually has a business partner and he runs his agency, and then he also is super into fashion, so he has a fashion podcast. But to answer your question, he does still run his agency. Next question is, hi Iman, is it possible to close 2 to 5K a month clients in Russia? The largest I was able to close was around 1.5K. Really need your opinion, huge inspiration. Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't see why you couldn't. I think realistically, there are certain markets where it's easier to close 10K clients. To me, it's a no-brainer that it's easier to close a 10K a month client in America than it would be in a place like Japan, for example, or Russia, for example. But that 2 to 5K a month mark, like if you were asking me, Iman, is it possible to close clients for 10K a month? And the most you've ever signed is a 1.5, I would say no. But my point is, you already know that it works at 1.5. So creep up that price to 2, 2.5, 3. Or if the market really isn't just ready for that sort of pricing, then just do this, continue to be charging 1.5 and then add some extra performance fee. Whether that be a percentage of ROAS, whether that be, I'm not really a fan of this, but based on the amount of leads you bring them. As I said, I'm not a fan of that, but any sort of performance fee based on obviously the client that you're working with, it has to be specific to the client you're working with and the nature of their business. If you're really getting capped by how much you can charge, then charge 1.5 and have that extra amount coming from your performance fee. Next question is, when someone tries to criticize your agency, how do you respond? It's the same way you look at anything in life when you're getting criticized, is genuinely reflect and be like, is this valid or is there no merit to this? Like, I'm trying to think of criticisms I've had in my agency. I'd say mainly at the beginning, like not criticisms, but like a rebuttal that I would have from agency clients is like, but what's the ROI on this? And that's something that I struggled with for a while when I had a creative agency. Was I didn't have a way to show ROI at that time. I think if I still had a creative agency, like I could totally make it work and I could find a way to quantify it exactly how I show people in an agency incubator, no matter what service you're offering, how to actually give clients a number that they can associate to their return on investment with you as an agency. As I said, whether you're an email marketing agency, a creative agency, an advertising agency, a graphic design, web design, it doesn't matter. But anyways, my point is, if someone has a criticism of you as an agency, you have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, is this valid or is this not valid? Like, as I said, over the past 2 years, I haven't really had a criticism of the agency, but if there was one that I would anticipate having, it would be like, Iman, sometimes it feels as though you're not fully present. And if a client said that to me, which no client has yet because I hold such a strong frame and the expectations are so clear, I would have to look in the mirror if that was actually causing a problem and be like, okay, yeah, that's fair enough. Because in 2019, I really did start getting freakishly obsessed about how could I remove myself from the agency, and that included never coming to any of the client check-in calls. Now, Danny and Kieran were still there, and there really wasn't a point for me to be there, but I think if I had received that criticism, I would have taken it on the chin because it would have been valid. But obviously I circumvented that situation by, in 2020, being like, just because I can doesn't mean I should. What I mean by that is, just because I can not show up to the client check-in calls and we're getting them great results and they don't care, doesn't mean I should. But to give you an example with maybe the education company, once again, I've received criticism in the past about many different things, and a lot of it I took on board and I use that to continuously get better year by year. I remember when I first launched 6-Figure SMA, this maybe like almost 2.5 years ago, my first ever agency program. One of the things that my early customers said was like, look, I feel as though there should be some more coaching or guidance. And I listened to that. I added a monthly live Q&A call, and then that became a bi-weekly live Q&A call. And then that turned into a weekly live Q&A call. And for an entire month, I actually did a weekly Q&A call, and I did a second Loom session. So what I mean by that is people would ask questions. And Danny, as you know, who's my performance marketer, has been working with me for my agency for almost 2 years at this point. He answered everyone's question. So those basically like 2 live Q&As a week, going from a point where 2 years ago there was none, and then monthly, and then weekly, and then now every week, and now almost twice a week. Or to give you another example, with 6-Figure SMA, which is the old version of Agency Incubator. I mean, I say the old version, but like 6-Figure SMA, comparing it to Agency Incubator is like comparing like the iPhone 4 to like the iPhone 11. It's night and day. And 6-Figure SMA, it's not this is an opinion of mine. It's a fact that like 6-Figure SMA got better results than anything on the market by far, because I would just see other people recycling the same 4 testimonials, and we would get 4 people signing ridiculous clients every single day. And a testament to that is the fact that you guys see student interviews every single week. And by the way, right now I'm backlogged almost 3 months on student interviews. So you don't get that many student interviews, and you know, you've seen student interviews of people making 65K a month, and you've seen people making 4K a month. But my point is, you don't get that many student interviews without having really done some shit right. So 6-Figure SMA, although it's here compared to Agency Incubator, which is here, it was still an incredible program, but I took a lot of that feedback on the chin. And when I was making Agency Incubator, it was such an excruciating process. It took me 5 months of literally working 10, 12 hours days, 6 days a week. I actually had it printed in my home in London. I have printed the feedback from 6-Figure SMA and none of the good stuff, because 98% of it was incredible stuff, just singing praises, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 scores. But 2% of it was the negative feedback. And I just wrote I had all the negative feedback on sheets and sheets of paper, because there was 30, 40 questions in that survey. So what I did was I just read it every single day, and I took it on my chin, and I used that feedback to create the thing that I'm probably most proud of. I mean, I'd say that and the schools that I built in Nepal with my own money last year. Those are probably the two things that I've created where I'm like, damn, that's some gangster shit. But anyways, my point is, with any sort of criticism in life, you got to look at it and you go, is this legitimate? And if it is, use that to make yourself better. Or if it's not legitimate, and there's tons of criticism that I get that's not legitimate. I think as many of you guys know, I've had an agency for almost 4 years at this point. I signed my first client August of 2016. I've been in this game a long time. And not only that, I've documented every single thing I've ever done. There's evidence of every single client that I've ever worked with. So I don't really get too much criticism these days, just because it's like, I've weathered the storm. Initially, I can remember in 2017, 2018 was the most, first half of 2019, I got some criticism. I say 2018 was really the main sort of year where I was receiving criticism from some people. Now it's still like 98% positive, 2% negative. But my point is, these days I don't really get much. But even to this day, I just filter and I go, okay, is this valid or is this not? Also, I look at who is this criticism coming from? Is it coming from someone who's an actual customer of mine? If it's coming from a customer of mine, I really give a fuck. I really take it into my stride. If it's a criticism from someone who's watched one of my ads, watched one of my videos and comments some sort of hate comment, like, to be honest, I'm at a point right now where I'm so desensitized to it. And second, I guess I know who I am. Like, if it strikes a nerve in you, it means there's some truth in it. Do you know what I mean? Like back in the day when people were like, Iman, your service delivery aspect of 6-figure SMA should be better. It struck a chord because I knew they were right. I knew it was true. I knew there was merit to it. And as I said, I took all of that feedback and that's what I used to make AI just this behemoth where nothing even comes close to it. But these days when I receive criticism, I look at it and also, as I said, whether it spikes some sort of emotional response in me, that tells me a lot. If they're like, you're a scam, or like, oh, you're this or you're that, for me, it doesn't spike any response because I know who I am. Like, I know that if you took a little bit more time, you can literally see me having interviews, like sitting with clients and be like, so please tell me, why do you pay our agency double what you could have a full-time in-house performance marketer for? So Mona from Motivate Design, why did you pay me $20,000 and fly me out here? If you follow my other social media, like I've posted literally behind the scenes client campaign, like go check in the description and you can apply to work with my agency. It'll take you to the case study. And I have like 10 examples of clients that I've worked with and there's evidence of every single one. So like my point is, I think if you receive criticism from someone and it spikes something emotionally, it means there's some truth in it or you partially believe it. And for me, if I receive that, even to this day, if someone criticizes me for something and it spikes an emotion, that tells me that part of me believes it. And if part of me believes that the criticism is true, then I should look myself in the mirror and I should ask myself, what can I do to improve and be better on this? Last question, how do you get past having limiting beliefs about signing clients when you were still new to having an agency? I think, to be honest, when I first started my agency, I didn't have so many limiting beliefs because I wasn't engulfed in this huge world of SMA. Like when I started my agency, like I didn't know what SMA was. I didn't know that, like for me, it was just simple. It was like, I'm delivering a service for a client in return for a monthly fee. Like that's all it was to me. It wasn't this big thing. Also, I wasn't comparing myself to other people because it was just my journey. I feel as though the issue, it's a blessing and a curse. When you have context and you see, student interviews and this and that, you might be comparing yourself to other people. So that's number one. And number two is, the other thing is, I want you to change your opinion around being fearful or having some limiting beliefs. Like that's normal. Like, it would be weird if you didn't go into signing your first client, and it would be weird if you were some psychopath and you weren't like, oh my God, what happens if I can't deliver results for them? Like that is normal. That comes with the process. It comes with the journey. That first client, let me tell you, that first client is the hardest by far. So really it's gonna be that first client that you sign where you're like, oh my God, this is possible. And it's also gonna be once you get killer results for that first client, and it may not be your first client, maybe your second client, or maybe your third client, but it's that first client that you get really good results for and you're like, damn, I know what I'm doing. Like I feel in control. So for me, confidence, I've said this all the time, confidence comes from competence. And when you first start, you can learn as much as you want. You can do all this stuff, but you won't be in the same way. Like a singer, the first time a singer steps on stage and performs in front of an audience, whether they are the best in the world or there's some very mediocre singer, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter their level of talent. And really, I think most people, it's not so much limiting beliefs, it's just fear around like, man, what happens if I embarrass myself in the meeting? Or what happens if like I can't deliver good results for this client? Like, you need to understand that that fear is normal. So, you know, I don't want you to shame yourself for that fear. And I feel as though, as I said, once someone has that fear, it perpetuates, because then like, oh, this fear isn't normal. And then it perpetuates and perpetuates. It's normal. Trust me, once you've signed 2 or 3 clients and you've been in the swing of things, you won't have those limiting beliefs. You won't have those fears. So ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna go ahead and do the giveaway. So this isn't gonna be timed perfectly because I think this video will be releasing like maybe 2 weeks after I've recorded or 3 weeks after I've recorded it. I'm just trying to backlog a couple Q&As before my hair gets literally too afro-y. I don't know when I can get a haircut here in Cape Town. But anyways, the winner for the Gadzhi clothing line is George Toskov. I just did a little scroll, and George, obviously I know you personally. So yeah, I'm super happy that you managed to win today's giveaway. Just go ahead and email support@GrowYourAgency.com with your height, your address, and we'll send you out a piece of apparel from the Gadzhi clothing line. If you guys want to be enrolled in winning, I literally do giveaways in every single video. All you have to do is just turn on post notifications and comment, and you will be in with a chance of winning. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys enjoy this video. I'll see you in the next one. What do you really think of the nigga that's making your beats? I've done things for him I thought